Elon Musk says DOGE aims to finish $1 trillion in cuts by the end of May. Guys, I will push my chips into the middle of the table and like put my reputation on the line. I think this is the freaking driving force behind why the stock market's acting up right now. Not tariffs. I mean, maybe a little bit of tariffs, but I think it's completely this. Like, you know what the federal budget is? It's $5 trillion, or that's like what the amount of revenue the government takes in through taxes. Then recently, it's been like about a 2 trillion, excuse me, did I say 5 billion? If I did, I meant to say $5 trillion budget. And then they spend an extra 2 trillion in deficit spending. So if you cut $1 trillion from that, that's huge for the asset prices of everything. Like I was trying to explain this to Amy the other day because I think we were listening to Glenn Beck on the way to work, and she's like, Glenn Beck's like, yeah, and like this and that. This is why you should buy gold because the dollar might crash. And she's like, oh wow, so if the dollar crashes, will the market crash? I'm like, no, if the dollar crashes, then the market would explode higher, which a lot of people don't connect those things right away. But so when the stock market goes up, that means the dollar is going down. Like the reason the stock market went ripping higher during COVID and after 2011-ish, it's because the value of the dollar has gone down. So like money devaluation, currency devaluation makes asset prices go up. So that's why crypto, real estate, stocks, all of that went up, like collectibles. That's why everything went up in price when we printed money. So no, it would actually be that like if the dollar crashed, the price of everything else would go up. But if the price of everything goes down, then the strength of the dollar goes up. So like we haven't had a good period of deflation in a long time. The last time that it's really only during a market crash that deflation happens. And China's fighting deflation like hell right now because they're not as well equipped to handle it because they're not like a nation of spenders the way we are. But let me take a look at this real quick. So Elon Musk from Bloomberg. Elon Musk, the billionaire running President Trump's federal cost-cutting effort, said he plans to slash $1 trillion in government spending by the end of May. Musk, in an interview Thursday with Fox, Brett Baer said he believes that the Department of Government Efficiency can find that level of cost savings within 130 days from the start of Trump's term. That presents an ambitious goal that would require slashing more than half of the $1.8 trillion the U.S. spent on non-defense discretionary programs in 2024. I think we can accomplish most of the work required to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion within that time frame, Musk said on Baer's show special report. Musk is a special government employee, a classification for temporary federal workers who are only supposed to work 130 days out of the year in their roles. Musk said he wants to cut 15% of the government's annual spending, which amounts to $6.75 trillion in fiscal year 2024. That's a reduction of about $1 trillion. Musk says he is confident that he can slash that amount without affecting any of the critical government services. I'm going to show you in a second an important thing that he says about Social Security, because the liberals are freaking out saying like he's going to cut my Social Security. Like no, the government's going to cut your Social Security if somebody doesn't address the problem. Like they've been screaming off the mountaintop for years now that Social Security, the trust, doesn't have enough money to start to keep paying after 2032, and they're going to have to cut it by 25%. So what he's doing here is going to actually give you a chance to get your full Social Security after 2032. All right, so chill out. And it's so funny that everybody got all mad when I made the Dark MAGA video about Musk. Like I'm probably like the best defender of what Musk is doing because I can actually articulate what he's trying to do in a way that the people like makes sense. It's not like the surface level argument of like, oh, he's doing a great service. Oh yeah, like we need to like end all government jobs. Oh yeah, we need to like cut all the budgets. Like no, we just need to trim some, and we need to let deflation set in. And this is the best way to do that because I've showed you the deficit spending before. Like that's what's propping up the stock market. Deficit spending by year. This is like the thing that's kept up the stock market. It's a huge, huge, huge freaking contributor to inflation. Look, all the red. And this only goes back to the 90s, but it's like this all the way back until before the gold standard ended. So this is what he's trying to chip into. So we did what, 1.6 in deficit spending last year, 1.75. So he's trying to basically cut this in half, like take this up to here, which would be so good. It would be so freaking good. It will make the market go down, but I don't know why average people are pissed off about that. Like 10% of the country owns 90% of the stock market. So when the stock market goes up, it makes things more expensive for 90% of the country because that 10% that owns the stock market starts spending more because they feel richer, right? The wealth effect. So a little less than a year ago, I come across this crazy situation that I've never seen before where I'm trying to find a book and it's nowhere in existence. So this book right here, Socialism, A Road to Slavery, by this guy named John Coleman, MI6 officer, total badass, wrote The Committee of 300, probably the most enlightening book out there if you're trying to learn who runs the world. Never heard anybody else talk about this, but this guy writes this book, spends 30 years researching it, and I can't find it anywhere. Like, not a single website. Amazon does have one copy last time I checked for $4,000, which shows you how difficult it is to find. So that awakened me to this whole concept of, wow, they really do remove books and information from society, from existence. That inspired me to start something called the Forbidden Book Society and try to keep things that are, I guess, considered forbidden information alive. And right now we have a group on Minnect, on Circles, called the Forbidden Book Society, where the first ones that we're doing, totally by coincidence, we're tearing through Whitney Webb's books called One Nation Under Blackmail, Volume 1 and 2, because the question that I guess everybody's afraid to ask because nobody's talking about in Republican circles is, why is Trump afraid to release the Epstein files? Not a question I wanted to ask, but a question I'm getting more and more interested in the more research I do. The whole concept of this thing is that I know that most people don't have a lot of time to read books. I mean, I read like 4 or 5 every month just out of curiosity, but I'm trying to supply the service of giving you the information from a book in like 5% of the time it would normally take you to read or listen to it through this group. So I'm doing a chapter by chapter breakdown every night from the chapters in these 2 books. And then we're going to move on to something that's another crazy topic each week after that. We do a weekly Zoom meeting on Sundays, and every night we post a chapter breakdown in this group. So if that's something that intrigues you, if you're somebody who's curious about how the world works, who controls the world, and you want to know who's actually pulling the strings in your life, check out the Forbidden Book Society on Minnect Circles.